Well, it seems like it's that time once again. March is over, and a lot happened during March. I turned 24 this last month. My dad had his birthday. My cousin had her birthday. There were a lot of birthdays in the month of March. But I said munch. What am I doing? But you know what time it is. It's April 1st. It's what I read time. Hello everyone, Britton here, also known as Some Okie Dude, and today I am back here with a video of what I will be discussing, what I read, or, well, what I completed in terms of reading in March of 2025, as well as some of the shows and movies I watched, mostly shows, for the most part shows. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about what I read and watched during the month of March, so yeah. Let's get to it before I lose track of myself. So, yeah, here we go. First book I have with me today is actually one people have been telling me to read for a while. I actually started back in February because that's what I promised to my friends who are fans of this series. But if there's any Discworld fans in the comment sections, you will be excited to hear that I finally got around to reading Guards by Sir Terry Pratchett, the late, great Sir Terry Pratchett. Now, Discworld is one of those fantasy sagas that people have been telling me to read forever, kind of up there with Malazan in terms of this is one of the goated fantasies of all time. But I was hesitant. I had heard that this is kind of a gag-a-minute kind of fantasy, not really the, creme of the crop, and also I kind of sympathize with Tori's position, because she was kind of in a similar one that I was in. I tend to be a little picky about my humor in whatever books I'm reading. Not that I, am completely joyless and dislike humor in general, but I find that humor, kind of like horror, is a very tight line. If you overdo it, you kind of kill the point of it. So, what did I think of Discworld? I actually really enjoyed it. So yeah, I really like Guards. I'm sure a lot of you will be happy to hear it. I had some really fun conversations with the two biggest Discworld fans on this platform that I know, which is Derry and Raph, who I am hoping to have on for hopefully a recurring series that will be starting, where we talk about some of the Discworld books. Hopefully starting with Guards. I won't say too much about what I thought of this, aside from the fact that I really liked it. I was very surprised by the writing ability that Pratchett brings, and also the evocation that he brings to the city of, I think it's called Ankh-Morpork? Please correct me if I'm saying it wrong. I'm probably butchering it. But this is really well done. I really like this. It's a really fun parody of, the kind of fantasy story, but it's also a fun parody of, like, cop shows, like, if you're a fan of stuff like Law & Order. I fucking hate Law & Order. That's a bad example. But if you're a fan of cop shows, Guards is kind of a cop show in a fantasy setting. Though it's a little more than that. It also has some really fun moments of social satire, and even it gets oddly philosophical towards the end of it. A lot of people say that this is a really great part to start. This is a really great book to start with Discworld, and I can't say I disagree. I thought this book was really, really fun. And I really enjoyed it. It's actually a well-written piece of fantasy, as well as being quite humorous, at least most of the time. Like I said, I'll hold my full thoughts for a conversation I'm hoping to have with Derry and Raph, so keep your eyes open for that. But yeah, I don't know if I would call Sir Terry Pratchett a genius just yet, but I will be returning for more visits into the world of Discworld, for sure. Definitely going to, so yeah, I enjoyed Discworld. I'm starting it out on a bang, so I imagine all of you are very excited. Another book I read is actually a nonfiction book, and I'll kind of keep this brief because, again, I'm probably going to be doing a video about this soon. And the book I read was Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. My dad, in very rare form, was chasing me around the house trying to get me to read Mere Christianity. This is actually one of the few books from C.S. Lewis that I haven't read. I've read a couple of his books. I've read most of his books. I haven't read the Space Trilogy, but I find that Lewis really cooks, for lack of a better word, when he does his nonfiction stuff. My personal favorite of his nonfiction work is A Grief Observed, which was one of the last books he did before his unfortunate passing. But Mere Christianity is not just a Christian propaganda thing. It is more of Lewis's dissection and exploration of the Christian belief, what they believe, why they believe it. I kind of like to call this, for lack of a better word, Christianity for Dummies, for lack of a better word, but don't take this to mean that this is like an instruction manual. This gets pretty heady at points, but I think C.S. Lewis tells it in a very approachable way, even though he does get a little heady in some of the parts in this book. But I enjoyed this book. I thought it was very well written for the most part. I don't really have too many problems with it. I'm sure the more hardline non-believers will probably take umbrage with this. But I liked it quite a bit. But I'll keep my thoughts on the down low for the moment, because again, I'm hoping to put out a video about Mere Christianity somewhat soon, so keep that in mind. Might have my dad in it, so yeah, just keep your eyes open for that. But yeah, Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. Quite enjoyed it. Thought it was a very good book. So yeah, I'll just put that down for now. Next book I have is actually one that I started in February as well. Well, actually, no, hold on. I started it in early March, because I did a very rare thing. I soft DNF'd book. I won't say what book it is, but if you know me, you know what it is. And I thought, I need a palate cleanser. I've been reading a lot of these very dark and heavy books. Well, I wouldn't say Discworld is very dark and heavy, but aside from that, pretty dark and heavy books. So let's do some more Hybrid Helix. So I picked up Blood Reunion by my good friend Joe Byrne, which is the third, the Blood Reunion, which is the third of the Hybrid Helix books. What can I say? Really, really propulsive, very well-paced entertainment. But also some good themes in there as well. Blood Reunion is a lot of fun, though. I really enjoyed this book. I still think that number 1 is my favorite, because I just really like the kind of slice of life bits that you see. I really like the slice of life that you see in Wistful Ascending the most. And also the ending is probably the best in that one that I have read so far. But Blood Reunion, I really like that this book, it does not take the boot off of the brakes. Like, it rolls, and the tension in this is absolutely exceptional. I really like how Joe builds tension. I really like how he actually challenges Rohan as a character, because Rohan is kind of the invincible kind of power behemoth of his world. Like, he's a very powerful superhero. And in this book, he goes toe to toe with someone who might be just as powerful as he is, or maybe even more powerful than he ever will dream about being. We also meet some more of his family. I won't say who, but if you've read this book, you know who I'm talking about. And we get some pretty awkward and fun family drama out of the whole thing. We learn a little bit more about Rohan's family. I really like the crew that he puts together in this. I really like Rohan and his cast of characters. Though, there is some stuff, I will warn you all, there is some stuff that is mentioned in here that was not mentioned at all in this second book. There was a short story in between books 2 and 3. So if you hear talk of a distillery, that's where that came from. You can ask Joe. But I remember being a bit confused when I when I read that part, and I'm like, he owns a bar now? And I texted him on the over Discord. But yes, Hybrid Helix is going strong still. I will say the plot structure is becoming a little more apparent to me. Though Joe has told me it does kind of shift a bit by book 4, which will be the next one. So I'm hoping that book 4 will be good. But I really enjoyed Blood Reunion, because I really liked seeing Rohan go through this really particular challenge and him having to operate without his powers so much. He has to use his brain a little bit more, which is always fun. I like seeing the heroes. I always like in superhero stuff when the superheroes kind of get torn down a little, and we get to see them have to improvise a little bit, rather it be using their intellect or having to find clever workarounds for certain problems that they can't just punch. Though, don't get me wrong, there's some great punching stuff in this. But yes, if you like superheroes as much as I do, if you're a fan of like stuff like Invincible, which I might bring up in a little bit, give Hybrid Helix a shot. I probably wouldn't start with book 3, because there's going to be a lot of stuff where you're just like, wait, what? What's that? What's going on here? And there's even some stuff about AI in this, and you know me, I'm a big AI nut, so I enjoyed this book. That's all I'll say. So yeah, good work, Joe. Another good book. I will probably have him on at some point. Hopefully won't be as long a wait as as Wistful Ascending to Return to the Griffin. I do hope to have him on for Blood Reunion soon. So, yeah, good book. Enjoyed it. check out the Hybrid Helix. Joe needs all the support he can get. So, yeah, there you go. My last book that I read was actually it was actually part of a class assignment that I was doing. But it's also kind of unspoken grounds for me because I don't really read a lot of poetry. But the last book I read was 22040, which was a poetry book. I was told by my I was given the assignment by my teacher to read it so I could do kind of this not really a book report. I mean, it kind of was a book report, but I hate to say that because I mean, I'm in college. You know, you'd think that, you know, they're not really doing that anymore. But I digress. I liked it. I don't really know what to say as much about poetry because poetry is such a what can I say? It can be a bit of a visceral experience, and a lot of it has to do with language, so I can't really analytically explain it. I'm sure there are people who can do it. I just struggle with it, but I mostly really enjoyed it. I really liked how it kind of acts as a warning of sorts about where our world could be headed to if we're not careful, which is what interested me about this particular collection of poetry. So I won't say too much because, again, I'm not really the best at reviewing poetry, but 22040, good stuff. I liked it quite a bit. So yeah, those are all the books I read in March of 2025. Now going on to the comics. I didn't read as many comics as last month because I kind of had a block where I didn't know what comics I wanted to read, and the comics I did want to read, I couldn't grab them for whatever reason. So here's a couple I ended up reading in the month of March. So the first one I'll talk about is actually one I read quite recently, and that is Superman Space Age by Mark Russell and Michael and Laura Allred, the famous artists behind... Oh, hell, I'm forgetting their superhero name, but it's the guy with it's kind of the one who's all white, and he has the orange pointed down. I'll put his name up here or something. I can't remember his name at the moment, but I really like this book. This is kind of like a DC version of the Life Story comics that they've been doing at Marvel. I actually I actually looked through Mark Russell's Fantastic Four Life Story last month, and now I am looking at Superman Space Age, which is kind of like that concept, except for the character of Superman. Of course, I'm reading a couple Superman comics in preparation for the new movie that will be coming out in July. I'm looking forward to it. What can I say? This book really surprised me. I didn't really know what to expect from this book, but I mean, I like Mark Russell, but I find he doesn't quite reach the heights I think he could. I liked Fantastic Four Life Story, but there were some minor gripes I had with it. But this book was mostly really, really, really good. He really knows how to depict Superman well, and it was really interesting seeing Superman age naturally throughout history. But this is kind of a what if the Silver Age Superman truly aged throughout history from the 1960s all the way to the 1980s. And we actually get to see, which I find was kind of a disappointment in Fantastic Four Life Story a little bit, is we get to see how Superman would actually affect our world. If Superman actually existed in our timeline, how would he affect things? And I think that Mark Russell did a really, really good job exploring that a little bit. I also really like what he did with Batman. I really love especially what he did with Batman and the Joker a little later on in this book. Really gave them a lot of depth, and considering the fact that he tends to write satires about rich people screwing over everyone else, and I mean, Batman doesn't do that, of course, but it is interesting seeing how he plays with the Batman mythos, and really we get to see a very... very different version of the Joker as well, which I thought was very well done. And he also is doing, which I think the actual trade just came out recently, he did a Batman book. So I'm actually wanting to read that after reading this, because Superman Space Age was really, really good. Really surprised me in a lot of ways. And so good job, Mark Russell. And of course, Michael and Laura Allred's art is really good in this. I really like the style they give, and I really like the heart they give to the DC universe. That's the Green Lantern. What am I doing? And it's really kind of a love letter as well to the Silver Age of Superman. There's even some references to some of the old Superman stories, like in the back here. There's a reference to For the Man Who Has Everything by Alan Moore, of course, which is one of the great Superman stories. This is a really good book, though, and it's really quite fascinating. It's a really fascinating look at what if Superman existed in our world. What would that look like, and what would he change about our world? Really fascinating stuff, and of course, he does all these characters very, very well. So yeah, good work, Mark Russell. Very, very good DC book. So yeah, let's put that down. My next comic, which will be the last comic I'll be talking about, is the only Year of Lemire book that I did this month, and that is Primordial by our boy Jeff, and of course his longtime collaborator Andrea Sorrentino. You know, this is actually one of my lesser favorite Lemire joints. This was easily a 3 because I mean, what can I say? But it's one of the rare Lemire stories that I actually think that the art is better than the story. I really hate to say that because I love Jeff Lemire and I really love what he does. But I mean the story is very basic, but like I really like the I found myself being more impressed by the art of Primordial than I was with the actual story of Primordial. It very much feels like a riff on Grant Morrison's We Three, which I haven't read, but I've heard is very good. And I wouldn't be shocked if We Three wasn't an influence on Primordial, because it also deals with animals being experimented on. Some really cool ideas in here. There's even a reference to my favorite album of all time, Dark Side of the Moon, of course. But really, I was kind of underwhelmed by the script a little bit. There's some good moments in here, particularly towards the end, but I found that I was more intrigued by the choices that Andrea Sorrentino made. And as I've noted before, every writer has their artist that really perfectly captures their style. I think Sorrentino might be that guy for Lemire. I mean, Lemire will throw the craziest things at Andrea Sorrentino, and Sorrentino is there to meet him. I mean, look at some of these panels. Absolutely insane what he's able to do. And going back to the We Three reference, there's even some artwork in this that looks like Frank Quitely's artwork, because Frank Quitely did the art for it. But I really like the paneling in this. I mean, look at that. I mean, that is absolutely impressive. Andrea Sorrentino is one of the best working today, and this book really proves why. Even though this isn't one of my favorite of their collaborations, like, look at that. I really like that a lot. That's really good. No, that's kind of spoilery. Sorry. Let me see what else. Like that right there. It's really cool. I really like the art in this. I'm just kind of sad that the script wasn't quite up to snuff with the art in this, but that's just my opinion. But overall, it was okay. Not one of my favorite Lemire books, but I mean, I think it's worth the read, especially for the art by Andrea Sorrentino. Because again, Andrea Sorrentino, ridiculously talented. What can I say? So yeah, let's put that down. That's enough for comics for this month. So I didn't really watch a lot of movies this month. I did watch some shows though. So let's get into it. So I finally got around to watching Creature Commandos on Max, because I have a Max subscription, but I haven't really been using it. I was going to use it for another show that I'll be talking about in a little bit. But I watched Creature Commandos, and I was kind of, not really sure what to expect. I mean, it's James Gunn, so generally what he does is very good. But it was solid. It was solid work. It does kind of start slow. I was just kind of like, okay, this is general James Gunn stuff. And then it becomes really oddly heartfelt, as he often tends to do. And every time I watch this, I think, man, James Gunn should really do a Garth Ennis adaptation, because, man, he would murder it. At least in my opinion, he would. But I really like this. It's James Gunn doing what James Gunn does well, which is get a scrappy group of misfits together and have them play off of each other, if you will. That's really all I got to say about Creature Commandos. It was a solid piece of television. I liked it quite a bit. I am looking forward to seeing what James Gunn and crew do for the DC Universe, though there are some things that are still unanswered that I am not entirely sure how they're going to pull off this new DC Universe, because they're kind of ignoring what the Snyderverse was, / kind of pulling some elements from it. It's really weird. But it's well animated. The acting is really good. I really like some of the one-offs with the characters, makes them more sympathetic. It's a good show. So what can I say? Next one I'll be talking about is one I started a while back, and then I finally finished over spring break of this year, this month, I mean, and that is Get Millie Black by Marlon James, and of course directed by Tanya Hamilton, I think is her name, and a couple of other people. This is very much a cop drama set in Jamaica. It is in the Jamaican patois, so I would recommend watching with subtitles. But luckily for everyone, they have automatic subtitles. They have subtitles already, so really, really good. What did I think of it? I liked it quite a bit. I thought it was a very ballsy show. I really like how the show captures Marlon James's style. And it kind of covers a lot of the things that he's covered in a couple of other works, such as trauma, what it means to be human, living as an LGBT person in a society that doesn't really accept that very much, and also that kind of complex relationship of post-colonial Jamaica with the rest of the world. And there's also a lot of commentary about homophobia, because homophobia is rampant over there. I mean, it makes us look like heaven in comparison, but I digress. I liked Get Millie Black. I do think a couple more episodes would have been really good, but I do think it was well plotted for the most part. I do think there were some characters I think could have been stretched out a little bit. We could have gotten some more out of them so we could sympathize with them more. But overall, I was very pleased with what I got. And Marlon James is really, really good at writing just raw emotion and raw how people deal with trauma in a way. It's very, very fascinating how he does it. He does it in the Dark Star books, and he does it in this. So I'm really looking forward to reading some more of his stuff. But it was a solid show overall. So yeah, Get Millie Black, I recommend it. Solid show. That's all I'll say about that. Next show I have is Reacher. I did start Reacher back in February, and I what can I say? To quote John from Talking Story, it's a show where a very big man beats up some people who need some beating up, and by God, this might be the best season yet. I mean, what can I say? The pacing, absolutely ridiculous. The acting, fantastic. The plotting, without peer. And the action, mwah, beautiful. I really, really, really enjoyed this season. This might be the best one they've ever done, though I still think that one is my personal favorite, because I just really like that mystery, and I like the characters in that season. But Reacher Season 3, though, was just a step above both of the seasons, just in terms of quality, in terms of the pacing. And Alan Ritchson, what can I say? That dude freaking brought it this season as Reacher. And it was really nice to see a great season of television, because Season 2 of Reacher was a bit overblown, in my opinion. Especially towards the end. The ending action sequence just really stretched my suspension of disbelief a bit. But Season 3, they were not playing around. It is campy enough to where it's fun, but there's also some real genuine stakes in this. So, yeah, Reacher Season 3, I've been saying it on Twitter, it fucks. It is a phenomenal piece of television. Check it out as soon as possible on Prime Television. It is really, really, really good. Next show I have on here is Daredevil Born Again. Yes, I did some Daredevil-related stuff because I watched the first 2 episodes of Daredevil Born Again. I liked it. Is it as good as the original show? I won't say just yet, but I will say I do appreciate that they are coming out swinging. They are not playing things safe. And, of course, none of the actors have lost a beat whatsoever. Charlie Cox is top 10 greatest comic book castings of all time as Matt Murdock. He is absolutely incredible as the character, and he has not lost a beat at all. Same thing with Deborah Ann Wool as Karen Page. And, of course, Vincent D'Onofrio as the Kingpin. I haven't watched the rest of the season yet. I'm kind of waiting for it to end so I can binge the rest of it. But it has been a very solid season so far, and I do hear from my friends that it gets even better. So I'm really hoping that it's good. And we also get to see more of Matt doing lawyery stuff, which is also pretty cool. And I've been seeing some people who just seem to want to complaining about how kind of a slow burn the new Daredevil show is. You know, it's not like the old Daredevil show had slow burn seasons. But wait a minute. Anyway, So, yeah, Daredevil Born Again is pretty solid. I mean, is it up there with the original show? I won't say so just yet, but it's starting out very strong. So, yeah, it's good. My last show I'll be talking about, which hopefully I won't spend too much longer on, it is Invincible. I mentioned it earlier in talking about Blood Reunion, but this season of Invincible is absolutely phenomenal. Really great. I really love this show, and I really love what they've done with the comic books. Somehow, Robert Kirkman and those crazy bastards over there writing Invincible, Robert Kirkman and crew, have created a show adapting the comic that both is very faithful to the source material, but makes changes to said source material that makes it even better. It's hard because I love the Invincible comic book series. You can see it right there. I've been still trying to get Joe and Tig on so we could talk about it, but it is a phenomenal show. It is fantastic. I really am enjoying it a lot. And of course, we get some of my favorite parts from the whole comic, and they freaking nailed it. I really am enjoying Invincible quite a bit. Very excited to see what they do for season 4, because season 4, it's going to be insane, and I can't wait to see what they do. So yeah, Invincible season 3, absolutely fucked. Once again, a lot of great seasons of television coming out right now. I don't care what the fucking culture warriors say. Great stuff. Invincible, incredible, just absolutely incredible, and can't wait to see what they do next. I won't say too much more. That was a lot. I had a really productive March, actually. I had a lot of really fun stuff I got up to during the month, and yeah, I've been going on for a little bit, so I'll just cut this out before too long. So, if you guys enjoyed this video, you can like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. You can find me on Twitter. You can also find me on Goodreads and Letterboxd, where I write reviews that are probably more coherent than the one you just heard right now. You can also find me on Instagram and Blue Sky. I don't use Blue Sky very much, but I am starting to get the hang of it. I'm starting to get to know it a little bit. Once again, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. As my buddy John Minton likes to say, it feels good when you do it. And comment. I love hearing from you guys. So, yeah, until next time, hope you guys enjoyed this. See you guys later. Bye-bye.